right, let's move to segment 2, and I promised a lot of football. This segment we're calling More Football, because here we go, Ced. Big 12 quarterbacks, often maligned in relationship to the NFL, but this weekend, 5 of them will be starting for NFL teams. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Mason Rudolph getting his first start with the Steelers. And then you've got Patrick Mahomes, everybody knows about in Kansas City, and Andy Dalton, the former TCU quarterback. So 5, including some guys that were really part of those video game numbers of recent years that I think a lot of people have said, you know, at times, system quarterbacks. But here they are. Are we done with this whole idea of only system quarterbacks come out of the Big 12?
I don't know. I'm telling you this, that whatever the system is working, Jen. And let's not forget, one of the OGs in the Big 12, Cliff Kingsbury, going to be coaching this weekend.
Right.
He was a good Big 12 quarterback. So
yeah.
I think that the NFL execs who 20 years ago were stubbing their noses at these Big 12 quarterbacks, at these system guys, what's happening now, Jen, is they've figured out that defensive ends and linebackers are so fast now that it's okay to take a 2-3 step drop and get rid of the ball. And guess what? There's some kids down south who do it in high school. It's called 7-on-7 in Texas, in Oklahoma, in places like that. And so all of a sudden, these NFL guys have figured out these guys know how to complete passes. They're accurate. They get rid of the ball. They don't mind running the hurry up. That's because they run a lot of no huddle in high school. So once they get to the pros, they're kind of ready for those principles. They're not getting sacked as much as these classic drop back passers. So I think the NFL is kind of recognized. That's why Cliff Kingsbury got that job, Jen.
Yeah.
That's why Baker Mayfield went first overall. That's why the Arizona Cardinals took a chance on a 5'10", 165-pound. I don't care what they list him at, 207. He probably ate like 6 baked potatoes before they weigh in. That guy looks like he's 170 pounds soaking wet. But he got drafted, Jen, because they know that he can play this style. It's an effective style.
Yeah.
It's the future. There's a reason that Nick Saban is throwing the football now, because he understands that the game is no longer about first and second down, 3 yards and a cloud of dust. Let's make something happen on 3rd and 5. They don't do that anymore. Yeah. They're throwing the football. These Big 12 quarterbacks are NFL ready, and I can't wait to see what happens this weekend, because most of these guys are already putting up really, really good numbers early in the season.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and as I mentioned, you know, the elder statesman in those Big 12 quarterbacks, Andy Dalton's been around for a minute, a little bit more in that pro style as opposed to these younger guys in the group. But to me, if you're a Big 12 quarterback, if you're Baker Mayfield, if you're Kyler Murray, you know, those guys have got to be sending thank you notes to Patrick Mahomes, because to me, he's the guy that really sort of broke the mold, that people finally said, oh, I see what these guys can do. Yeah, they're running a system, as Cedric said, but it's a system that can be successful. These guys have hallmarks to their games that can work at the NFL level. So for Patrick Mahomes to have the success he had a year ago and, you know, to really only look like he's going to continue to have that kind of upside, I think that just says, you know, it's not some sort of gimmick. It's not some sort of fad. It's a system that can work to win football games. And obviously you've seen NFL teams try to bring in, whether it's Chip Kelly, didn't exactly work long term, but now with Cliff Kingsbury, Lincoln Riley's a hot commodity. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how does this continue to evolve in the NFL. And, you know, is the Big 12 continuing to see its quarterbacks benefit by this? You know, I think it remains to be seen, but 5 is a great number, and I think it could continue to go up. You know, this year's crop maybe not the greatest, but I think there are some more guys as you look forward that could be that next group of starters to come out. And you know, I'm interested. I haven't mentioned him much, Cedric, but you know, we've talked the last month or two about the Steelers because of all the drama with Antonio Brown and all of their guys, but It'll be interesting to see Mason Rudolph. He's more of that Andy Dalton type of guy as far as stature and skill set, but he definitely has that air raid, up-tempo thing. Came in last week in relief of Ben Roethlisberger after he hurt his elbow. Played great. I think he's just another guy that could, he could be a guy that we're seeing as a starter for a long time in Pittsburgh.
And the torch may have been passed. I think Big Ben may throw some gas on that torch because he famously said that he was not going to be a mentor to Mason Rudolph. Well, guess what? Mason Rudolph is here. He threw 2 touchdown passes last week. He wasn't scared, Jen.
No.
Because he played in the Big 12 where he's used to throwing it 40 or 50 times. And I think that I look at these guys that are playing now, and I can't help but think about the days of yesteryear where guys like B.J. Simmons and Cumbie and who was the Zach from Oklahoma State? What was his last name?
Zach Robinson, yep.
Zach Robinson.
Yep.
Those guys came along about 10 years too early, Jen, because their types of skill set is working right now in the league. Those guys never even got a look hardly from NFL execs, but they were proficient at what the guys we're watching today are doing. They were proficient at that even way back then. And now what you're seeing is that the NFL coaches and owners have recognized, smartly I might add, that this stuff works.
Yeah.
And we're not going to see the end of it. This is just the beginning, Jen. The Big 12 has been quarterback central for the last decade or so. It's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, it sure looks that way. And you're right. You think about that, maybe that sandwich generation that didn't quite get the NFL love, but now a lot of those guys are offensive coordinators around college football at some programs that you could sort of see their career paths to head coaching, and then who knows where. If the NFL continues to embrace these offenses, that they may be that next generation of NFL offensive coordinators, NFL head coaches, those sorts of things. It's going to be interesting to see. Is Cliff Kingsbury just the first of many? I sort of think so. I think we're going to continue not only talking about NFL quarterbacks coming from the Big 12, but NFL coaches and offensive coordinators as well.